Hello once again. Hey, this is Ben with Studio on the Lake. So this is a fun project. This is a kid's slingshot, and it's done with surgical tubing. That's what's getting put on there now. It's got a little bear face in the front of it. So obviously it would be for younger kids. I don't know, pick a 7 to 10, maybe somewhere in there. And the surgical tubing is easy to get. It's just standard. I think that's 3/8. And I'll show you at the end. But there's the bear. It's got a bear face carved in the front to there, and a little handle to hold on. And it was not done out of a stick. It was done out of a piece of basswood. So here's one of the cutoffs of a piece of basswood. And in my normal fashion, I roughly sketched it out. I've got an idea of what I want him to do, and we'll go from there. So this will go over to the bandsaw. I made sure it was thick enough. I was a little bit concerned about the one corner on the one on the left there, and I'll show you how I fixed that. So there it is, cut out. You can see the side that I drew the bear on. That was the side that was plain. There is a knot in the one arm there, and I thought maybe, but this side on the right is a little bit thin, and I'm looking at it and I'm trying to think of what I'm going to do. So it was pretty apparent. I need the raised portion to do the bear face, so the bear face needs to go on the back side, and it also takes a lot of that knot right there out, or branch. That's where a branch comes through the wood. So here's the big square in the center that I plan on leaving in there, and then the rest of this is going to get cut down. Now, when I was a kid, we used to make slingshots out of crooks and branches, and that worked just fine, preferably an oak or something along those lines. And you could whittle them, or we did, with a pocket knife. Of course, in those days, all little kids, 7, 8 years old, had a pocket knife. Certainly 10 years old, you had a pocket knife in your pocket. But you didn't take it to school. And nowadays, I think if you showed up with a pocket knife in school as a little kid, you'd get thrown out forever. They just don't tolerate that anymore. Couldn't find a pencil. We've got hundreds of pencils. So as usual, start with the center line on everything. I left the arms a little bit proud, and then that section in the center there that's sticking out is going to be the bear face. So I will use a combination of cutting this down. It's got that piece right there is the part with the knot. It has a funky grain, so you end up going in the opposite direction of what I would think you would normally go if you're playing with the grain. So if you get into carving and you start carving, if you've never tried it, and this is the first one, my videos you've ever watched, you know that the grain makes a difference in which way you're working with the knife. And I'm not trying to make the arms and the handle on this guy right now perfect. I'm just trying to knock off the rough edges on it. And that's interesting on that left piece. The grain goes upwards like that, and then on the left side of it, it goes down. You see me cutting in the opposite direction there. And a lot of this right there where that tree branch is sticking through will go away. So that's pretty straightforward. Nothing too exciting going on there. And like I said, I didn't take it down. Now it's time to lay out the bear face. I knew that I wanted the bear face in the middle of the crook there, and I wanted it facing the shooter, for lack of better reference. So I did draw a center line. You can't really see it in there. That portion in the oval in the center is a standard for making a bear. If you watch a lot of the chainsaw carvers, Jordy Johnson does a lot of chainsaw carving. You should check his channel out, Carving Fusion, Ryan Cook, Uncle Kevin, all those guys. So the top portion will be, I'm going to cut the nose out, but first I'm going to put the ledge across the top. His eyes will end up being slightly above his nose, and his nose is that piece that I'm going to leave proud. So I'll cut the first ledge, taper that back, and then I will cut a second ledge up in the top there, and his ears will come out of that second ledge. So this is turned out to be a little bit more of a realistic bear. I wasn't sure when I started. These things can turn cartoony pretty quick, and there's nothing wrong with cartoon bears. especially in an application like this, because it's designed to be a toy, a kid's toy. Although it's set up pretty well, does a nice job. So we won't need the middle on the top here. That's where his ears will end up. I have not finished setting up my dust collector yet. I do have the tubing finally. I've got some 6-inch and some 4-inch and the dust gates and that sort of thing, but I haven't been motivated. I do want to film a lot of that when I set that up for you guys. It's really loud in this little building, and that annoys me a little bit, because if you're a subscriber, you'll know that I tend to watch TV in the background. Up in where I'm sitting right there in the left-hand corner of the Stuga is TV, and it's hooked up to the Wi-Fi of the house. And I usually got Netflix or something like that going in the background. Something mindless. That is a ball. That's a saber-tooth ball, and it's a 3/32. And it's in the 3/32 handpiece, what they call it, that I use. And I like the balls because it can go any general direction, and I don't have to worry about cutting. If I'm using a taper or something, taper is kind of limited, and it's for cutting downwards and using the side of it. This ball, I can use any portion of it and use it like a pencil and erase the parts that I want. So I got the rough shape in there. You can see I drew around the nose and the eyes there. I haven't started to do the ears yet. I'm just starting to feather back in. And I'm using a little ruby ball or ruby spear there. And the reason I like to use those is it's not real aggressive, but it does take material away. And when you get to the point where you don't want to take a whole lot off and you want to shape what's going on, I tend to go with the ruby balls or the ruby spear, because it's a little bit slower cutting. I might even use a cheap diamond bit in that. And I always like to put my center lines back in just to keep where I'm going. So I really don't have his nose defined just yet, and I'm starting to do that. And that was the original ledge on the side of that. And it looks to me, I haven't done a bear in the chainsaw. I did one many years ago, but I haven't set the chainsaw up either. These are busy times. I still need to put the quarter drive sprocket on there, the 8-tooth, and then I don't even remember now, the 8 or 10 inch, maybe 12 carving bar, dime tip carving bar on that still 193. So I wanted his nose to be kind of stuck in the air. He'd be a snooty bear or a cute bear, I guess. So we're busy shaping the nose in there now. Not much going on up in the Northwoods here. The weather's been weird. It's been 80 degrees one day and then 65 degrees the next day. The hummingbirds have left. They headed down south. And if you get a chance, I don't know what it's on, one of the streaming channels, there's a David Attenborough deal on hummingbirds, and they've got a neat place down in Texas where they all overwinter. I guess these hummingbirds end up flying all the way down into South America, and they cross the Gulf of New Mexico. So for a little bird that burns as much energy, that's a pretty extensive flight. But they head down south, and they already have left the Northwoods up here. The hummingbird feeders have been blank all this week since I've been back up home from Iowa. That's a Cutzall. Or not a Cutzall. That's a saber-tooth burr. It's in green. It's not an extreme, but it does a nice job removing. You can see the taper. I'm kind of limited to the sides of that and the tip of that. I can't just scribble that in any direction I want to like I can the ball. And at this point, I'm taking everything down and starting to leave the bare face proud and out, and then the stuff that's away from it, like I'm doing right there on the side, is going to go down into the handle and then the forks of the slingshot. I was kind of intrigued at this point as I was doing him. I noticed it kind of looks like he has his arms up as an I give up kind of thing, and I like the looks of that. I will take the V above his forehead or above his head down a little bit more and make that a little bit wider. I stuck that little ball in there where I thought his eyes needed to go, just as a reference. I knew I was going to be carving those down quite a bit more, but it gave me the reference of where the eyes were going to be, and then how the eyes would go down into the nose. And that's kind of what I'm cutting in now. And I'll come back with the diamond burrs and whatnot and fine tune this. And then the last thing I'm going to do with him is I will stone him all over and put the fur in, and then I'll put some Danish Watkins oil on him and make him brown. So this was a fun project. I've been wanting to do it for a little while. A couple months ago, I ordered the tubing, so I had that available, and I'm starting to stock back up on things that I use. This will probably go down to the gallery. I did a bunch of toys, several different toys. We've got a few more to do. I haven't filmed those yet, but I'm sending some toys down to the gallery, in addition to birds, and especially little birds. But a lot of decoys are down there and that sort of stuff. And I've been busy. I keep looking at the reference material for the Raven. I moved the dragon head that I started and put on the body around. And I just have to be in a special kind of mood to carve on the dragon. But I've got a good idea where he's going. So I've got the bear primarily roughed out where I want him. And now it's time to put a little fat oval handle on the bottom. And that's running at 2.5 times. I normally run at 2 times the speed when I'm doing stuff. At 2.5 times, sometimes the sequence gets caught in the middle, and it looks like I'm not doing anything. The part where it speeds up is the part that happens to be still and not moving. It's a Ramelson knife, in case you're wondering, and it's any good kind. If you haven't subscribed, it doesn't cost anything to subscribe. It certainly helps out the channel. Those of you who are subscribers and watching these, go ahead and click like if you like it. Feel free to click dislike. Heck, it's been a long time since I've had somebody click a dislike, probably. I've seen in there. I do not have the problem a lot of folks have with trolls, and knock on wood for that. People that are watching the videos seem to enjoy them and get something out of them. Or at least are not annoyed enough to put dislike in there. I don't know personally why you would dislike something that that someone else is doing, unless you think you can do it better, or you don't like the way they went around about it. Maybe a safety reason, if you thought something was unsafe. And certainly all this stuff is unsafe. But by and large, fortunately, a lot of people all the people on the channel that are watching the channel seem to be working by kind of the golden rule that we learned as a kid. You know, if you don't have anything nice to say to someone else, don't say anything. Keep it to yourself. By and large, in today's social world and social media, everybody has an opportunity to say something, and they're safe if they're sitting at home behind their computer. Whereas if they were sitting across from you in a restaurant or somewhere in a public place, and they said a comment that they feel free to post while sitting in their chair at home, they stand a pretty good chance of getting punched in the face, and probably rightly so. Not advocating violence here, but we all know people that could use a good smack in the face every now and again. So this is the stone. And I'm putting all of the fur around there, and I'm staying away from the nose. I want to leave the nose smooth. And then when I put the stain on there, I'm going to take that nose off, kind of like the guys are doing with the chainsaw bears, where they burn everything but the nose. They'll burn the tip and leave the nose or the stout out. And then when they take that burning material off. They get a light colored wood there on the end of his nose. Gives a nice contrast. And I probably should have zoomed this in a little bit more. I think I do towards the end, but you'll get an idea of what the bear looks like. These bears are a crapshoot for me when I'm carving them. They either come out really nice, or they come out not so great at all and not worth a whole lot. But this one I'm kind of liking him. He's got a good look. You can see I've done a little bit more work and smoothed down the shape of the slingshot itself there. And again, it really kind of looks like a crook. When I showed it to my wife, she said, "Did you do this out of a tree limb?" And I said no, that I'd cut it out of basswood, which is kind of surprising because it does have a look about it. So that tubing is going to need 2 little grooves around the top there. I will put those in, and then I thought his belly looked like he needed a smooth portion in the middle without fur on it. So I just thought, well, I'll put an oval in there. So here's drawing the oval in, which will not get fur, and we'll give it kind of a finished look. If you haven't checked out a lot of the stuff, Just Carve Rob is putting up the Halloween videos and still carving. You know, I recommend you go over and check him out. Mark the Maker, a lot of those guys. You look down in my down in the description down there, and I'll put there's a link of probably 20 people that I follow. By all means, Gene Messer, go check his stuff out. Mike at Stennis Sticks, of course, is always fun to watch. And of course, the great Jordy Johnson over there. I enjoy everything that Jordy does. So now I'm just using the burner as a stop cut. I'm lazy, and I didn't want to do it with a knife. It's a lot more fun to play around with this burner. I've got videos back on what this burner is. It's from PJL Enterprises over in Minnesota. Same one I've used for probably 30 years now. I don't know. It's run by one gentleman, so Pat is his name, and he's a character to talk to. But I just have a strong suspicion that when Pat's done, that's the end of the sport, and it's one of those deals where the company is not gonna go on. I hope that's not the case. That burr in there is a diamond, ruby, or sapphire, one of the two. I buy them interchangeably. The only way you can tell is one has got a red tint to it, the other does not. Basically, it's a fine grit, stone grit. And I've noticed some of them do even tell you what's going on. So here's an old ceramic stone, and it's got an inverted cone with a sharp edge on it. And I did go ahead and draw pencil lines that you can't see of where the fur was supposed to go. And I am cutting the fur in a pattern where it would naturally flow. And you can see that this thing, as it's cutting, is doing a little bit of burning. But this is a really good way to get hair on your carvings, is to stone the hair in. Another way to do it is to burn it in. But you can see that this is a lot faster. So this is 2.5 times, or 2 times, the normal speed. And I'm not going to torture you and show you the whole thing, because it needs done on both sides, everywhere, including his face, which I've already done quite a bit of on the bear. But here's the fur, and it has a nice feel to it when you stick it in your hand. It's got that smooth portion in the center, and then the rougher texture of the fur, which allows you to hang on to it a little bit better. So it gets one coat of Watkins Danish oil, which takes a couple days to dry, and then I'll take and steel wool some of this off, especially around the nose. But this is I think this is a walnut, black walnut maybe. Yep, it says so underneath my hand there. This black walnut, it's kind of dark. A little darker than I probably would. I don't normally get the dark. I don't know why I bought the dark this time. But it works. And the basswood seems to take the stain. A lot of times basswood doesn't take stain very well. But in this case it did. I am working on a Halloween plaque. And I'll show you more about that. It's kind of a surprise thing when I get done doing what I intend to do with it. So you have to wait on that. Obviously, I'll go back and do I'll be doing the raven and the dragon. And I think I might be done with the toys for a little while here. So here's the thing: how do you put this isn't a very good example. I didn't film enough of it. But how do you put the tubing on there, where you can strap it around and you can sew it, or you can cut a quarter of the way through the tubing, about a quarter inch from the end, and then you can stick the end through it. And you do that with both ends. And in the middle, you'll put that little piece of leather that you have to, I didn't show you that, and cut out a little oval for the slingshot part of it. And you pull this tubing through. Well, when I'm doing it, other than when I did the other one, you use a little bit of dish soap and slides in there. And that gives you a firm connection on both ends. One piece like that is nice and clean. Another way to do that is the same thing, or fold those over and you can sew those together. But these are just the tubing slit folded back on itself. So there you go. Not too much excitement to the whole thing. You can see it's got a nice pull for a dwarf. And he's got a nice, kind looking bear in the middle. So the grandkids don't get to shoot the wildlife. We've got squirrels, chipmunks, occasionally a bear. We saw a badger hole in the backyard the other day, and they can shoot at the badgers, but they need to be running when they do that. I thought there was a bear at the end of the stuga the other morning because it was really making a racket. But there you have it. There's a kid's bear slingshot. Thanks a lot. This has been Ben with Stu on the Lake. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Thank you.